Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for tuning in today. You know, James, many people dream of a comfortable retirement, but not everyone knows how to plan for it.
That's true. Financial planning can sound complicated, especially with all the different systems around the world.
And even within one country, like the US, there are so many specific terms and they can be confusing.
Exactly. And that's what today's dialogue is all about. Two people just watched a documentary on Social Security in the US, and they're discussing what they learned.
You'll hear some useful phrases about saving money, retirement, and even financial trust.
Sounds great. Now let's listen to the dialogue for the first time.
Well, that was an interesting documentary.
For sure. I didn't really understand some of the technical jargon they used in the film when they talked about Social Security in the US.
Like what?
Well, they mentioned how people put away money in something called a 401k.
Yeah, I know it sounds weird, but a 401k is a type of retirement plan that allows employees to save and invest for their own retirement. Through a 401k, you can authorize your employer to deduct a certain amount of money from your paycheck and invest it in the 401k plan. Everyone tries to contribute as much as possible so that when you retire, you can rest peacefully on your nest egg.
That's interesting and logical, I guess. In my country, we also have to contribute to a government-run retirement fund, but most people don't really trust it, so they just invest in properties or things like that.
That seems a bit unstable, don't you think?
Yeah, but corrupt governments in the past have created distrust among banks and financial institutions. So now people prefer to have money hidden in a jar or a piggy bank.
I've been thinking of doing that lately. I don't want some banker to run off with my money.
That was a really thoughtful conversation. They touched on some real issues about saving money and financial trust.
Yeah, and I like how the woman compared the US retirement system to her own country's. It shows that financial security means different things in different cultures.
True, and I think many people can relate to that feeling of not trusting the system completely.
Absolutely. But it's interesting that the man ends with a joke. It makes the topic a bit lighter.
Okay, now let's go over some key words and expressions that came up in this dialogue.
All right, let's start with the phrase Social Security.
Social Security.
Social Security.
So basically, this refers to a government system that provides financial support to people, especially after retirement, or when they're unable to work.
Right. In the US, Social Security is a program where workers pay taxes during their working years and then receive benefits later in life.
And in the dialogue, when they mention Social Security, they're talking about that same US government program that supports retired people.
Exactly. For example, many elderly people depend on Social Security payments for their living expenses.
That means they rely on this government support to live.
Okay, next, let's check the word documentary.
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 A documentary is a nonfiction film or TV program that provides real, factual information about a topic, like history, nature, or social issues.
Right. And in the dialogue, when the man says, "That was an interesting documentary," he means the film they watched about Social Security was informative and engaging.
Totally. For example, we watched a documentary about climate change last night. That means we saw a film that explained real facts about global warming.
Now, let's look at the word jargon.
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 So, jargon means special or technical words used by people in a particular field, like law, medicine, or technology, that can be hard for others to understand.
Exactly. And in the dialogue, when she says, "I didn't really understand some of the technical jargon," she means there were specialized financial terms in the movie that were hard to follow.
Right. For example, Computer jargon can be confusing for beginners. That means technical words used in computing are hard for new learners to understand.
Okay, next up, the word retirement.
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 So retirement means the period of life after you stop working permanently, usually because of age. And the verb form is retire.
Ah, right. And in the dialogue, the man says, a 401k is a type of retirement plan, meaning it's a way to save money for when you stop working.
Exactly. For example, my father is enjoying his retirement by traveling around the world. That means he stopped working and is now enjoying his free time.
Now, let's check the word authorize.
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 To authorize means to give official permission or approval for something. In business or finance, it often means to allow someone to handle money or make decisions.
In the dialogue, when he says, you can authorize your employer to deduct money, it means you can officially allow your company to take a part of your salary for investment. And the word deduct means to subtract or take away from a total.
Got it. For example, the manager authorized the payment for the new equipment. That means he gave official permission to make the payment.
Now, let's talk about the word contribute.
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 To contribute means to give something like money, time, or effort to help achieve a goal.
Right? And in the dialogue, the man says, everyone tries to contribute as much as possible, meaning people try to put in as much money as they can into their retirement savings.
Exactly. For example, each team member contributed to the success of the project. That means everyone gave effort or help.
Awesome! Okay, now let's listen to the dialogue again and pay attention to how those expressions are used.
Well, that was an interesting documentary.
For sure. I didn't really understand some of the technical jargon they used in the film when they talked about Social Security in the US.
Like what?
Well, they mentioned how people put away money in something called a 401k.
Yeah, I know it sounds weird, but a 401k is a type of retirement plan that allows employees to save and invest for their own retirement. Through a 401k, you can authorize your employer to deduct a certain amount of money from your paycheck and invest it in the 401k plan. Everyone tries to contribute as much as possible so that when you retire, you can rest peacefully on your nest egg.
That's interesting and logical, I guess. In my country, we also have to contribute to a government-run retirement fund, but most people don't really trust it, so they just invest in properties, or things like that.
That seems a bit unstable, don't you think?
Yeah, but corrupt governments in the past have created distrust among banks and financial institutions, so now people prefer to have money hidden in a jar or a piggy bank.
I've been thinking of doing that lately. I don't want some banker to run off with my money.
This time, I noticed how balanced the conversation was. They both expressed their opinions without arguing.
Yeah, it was more of an exchange of ideas. They both tried to understand each other's point of view.
And that's great for language learners. It shows how to keep a discussion polite and informative.
Right. It's also full of real-world vocabulary related to finance and daily life.
Definitely. Okay, let's move on to the next set of useful phrases.
All right. Let's start with the phrase nest egg.
Nest egg.
Nest egg.
So, a nest egg refers to money that someone saves over time for the future, especially for retirement. It's like your personal savings cushion, you know?
Right. And in the dialogue, when he says, when you retire, you can rest peacefully on your nest egg, he means you can live comfortably because you've saved enough money.
Exactly. For example, he built a nice nest egg before retiring at 65. That means he saved enough money for his retirement life.
Okay, next up, the word property.
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 So, property means land, houses, or anything valuable that someone owns. It's often used when talking about real estate or investments.
Yeah, exactly. In the dialogue, when she says, people invest in properties or things like that, it means they buy houses or land instead of trusting the government fund.
Right. For example, owning property is one of the best ways to build wealth. That means real estate can increase your financial stability.
Now, let's check the word corrupt.
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 Corrupt means dishonest or immoral, especially when someone uses their power for personal gain.
Exactly. And in the dialogue, the phrase corrupt governments means governments that used their power unfairly or stole money in the past.
For example, the corrupt politician accepted bribes from companies. That means he took money illegally in exchange for favors.
Okay, now let's move on to the word distrust.
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 So, distrust means not having confidence or trust in someone or something. It's basically the opposite of trust.
Right. And in the dialogue, when she says corrupt governments have created distrust among banks, she means people no longer have faith in financial systems because of past corruption.
For example, there is growing distrust between citizens and politicians. That means people don't believe or rely on them anymore.
Next, let's look at the phrase piggy bank.
Piggy bank.
Piggy bank.
A piggy bank is a small container, often shaped like a pig, used to save coins. It's usually for children, but adults sometimes use the term humorously too.
Right, and in the dialogue, when she says, people prefer to have money hidden in a jar or a piggy bank, she means they'd rather keep cash at home instead of trusting the bank.
Exactly. For example, when I was a kid, I saved all my allowance in a piggy bank. That means I put my small savings into a little container.
Finally, let's talk about the phrase run off.
Run off.
Run off.
To run off means to leave suddenly, often to escape or steal something.
Yeah, right. And in the dialogue, when he says, I don't want some banker to run off with my money, he means he doesn't want anyone to take his money and disappear.
Exactly. For example, the thief ran off with the bag of cash. That means the thief escaped while stealing the money.
Perfect. Okay, now let's listen to the dialogue one last time and see how those phrases are used in context.
Well, that was an interesting documentary.
For sure. I didn't really understand some of the technical jargon they used in the film when they talked about Social Security in the US.
Like what?
Well, they mentioned how people put away money in something called a 401k.
Yeah, I know it sounds weird, but a 401k is a type of retirement plan that allows employees to save and invest for their own retirement. Through a 401k, you can authorize your employer to deduct a certain amount of money from your paycheck and invest it in the 401k plan. Everyone tries to contribute as much as possible so that when you retire, you can rest peacefully on your nest egg.
That's interesting and logical, I guess. In my country, we also have to contribute to a government-run retirement fund, but most people don't really trust it, so they just invest in properties, or things like that.
That seems a bit unstable, don't you think?
Yeah, but corrupt governments in the past have created distrust among banks and financial institutions, so now people prefer to have money hidden in a jar or a piggy bank.
I've been thinking of doing that lately. I don't want some banker to run off with my money.
All right, that's it for today's episode. Hopefully, our listeners learned a lot of new expressions about money, savings, and retirement.
These are all really practical topics because everyone has to think about their future at some point.
Exactly. And understanding terms like 401k or retirement fund helps you understand English-speaking cultures better.
Totally. It's also interesting how trust plays such a big role in financial decisions.
That's right. Whether you save in a bank, invest, or keep your money in a jar, it all comes down to feeling secure.
Exactly. And James, speaking of retirement systems, Japan has its own challenges too. The aging population is putting a lot of pressure on the pension system.
Yeah, that's a serious issue. Fewer young people are working, so there's less money going into the system while more people are drawing from it. It's quite different from the US, where private savings like 401ks play a bigger role.
Exactly. In Japan, people rely heavily on the national pension, but many young people are worried about whether they'll even get benefits in the future.
That uncertainty is pushing more people to look for side investments, like mutual funds or even part-time businesses.
It's an important reminder that financial education should start early, no matter where you live.
Absolutely. Understanding how these systems work can help people feel more in control of their future.
Well said. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening today.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review.
We'll be back soon with more real-life English conversations.
See you next time.
Bye.